Talk, man. You guys should just talk.
All right. So, Paul, can I interview you?
No.
Huh. That's disappointing. Well, what I'd like to say on that tip is, I really appreciate you doing the 12th Dimension. It's been it's a change in my life. And, people compare you to a young, almost better-looking Howard Cosell.
Yep.
And what I'd like to say to that is they're right.
Hey, hi again. It's Paul, and you're watching Talkin Bout Hawkin Out, the weekly Seahawks program on YouTube. Good to be back. This week we actually have a football game to talk about, which is awesome. Before I do anything, I want to send a special thank you and shout out to the Fall City Fire District and the King County Sheriff's Department. They rescued my fiance and I from the edge of the Snoqualmie River. We were tubing down the Fall River, or Snoqualmie. Anyway, we were in Fall City and we went on a little tube ride, and it turned into an emergency situation. We got swept into this little tiny random rapids section, and she fell out of her tube. It was like raging in this little spot. And went underwater, hit her head, got a concussion, basically, went unconscious in my arms on the riverbank, no way up, steep rocks, raging river behind us, like literally like 8 foot wide white water. You cannot do anything about it. We're trapped, we're stuck. And she's unconscious in my arms, and I'm like, oh boy, this is not fun. So anyway, people called for help, and the sheriff's department, a couple of guys, a couple of sheriffs, crawled down this rock face through blackberries and got on either side of us, and there was only about a foot. I couldn't move my feet, and I was holding her from the river's edge, literally from being swept away. So they climbed around us, helped us out there. They radioed for help. They sent in a fire department, brought in a pontoon boat with an outboard motor, and they got swept away a couple times. Finally had to throw a line in to the sheriffs, who had to haul them in with the pontoon boat. The whole time my fiance is unconscious in my arms, and these guys are like, so I hop in the boat, and they kind of turn her around. She starts coming to just a little bit, and she's able to kind of help us, and they kind of scoop her into my arms in the boat. They flip us around, so we're heading finally downstream, and anyway, that was it. We were saved. So I just want to say thank you, guys. I don't know if you'll ever hear this or anything, but, who do you call when you're in help? Did we need help? I mean, I couldn't move. I couldn't even move. I had 2 places to sit or stand, and I was standing on them. And anyway, thank you, guys. You saved us, and I just appreciate it. Thank you for just thanks. So thank you, guys. Fall City Fire District, if that was even the right district, and the couple and the sheriffs and the paramedics and everybody that was there to help us out of that. Thank you, guys. I hope that this message gets to you somehow. At any rate, we got some football to talk about, and it turned out to be a pretty fun little game. It was last week. The Seahawks took on the Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, and it was a preseason game, so nobody was obviously expecting much of anything except for maybe to test our ranks and find out where we're at, and it turned out to be a very exciting finish in the end. So we saw a little bit of action from Russel Wilson. He took over the first series and threw an interception in the end zone. He threw a late pass and was behind the guy in the right corner of the end zone, the front right corner, and it got picked off. So the defender drove on the ball and picked off. So I just got to say something about Russell Wilson and his interceptions. And it's probably all just in my head, but I just do. I attribute maybe meaning when there is none, and I always kind of see symbolism and a little bit of destiny or whatever like that. So I'm calling this Russell Wilson's interception sandwich. And it started with the interception at the goal line on the Super Bowl in 2015. And ends, I hope, in preseason game number 1 of the 2016 season. And I talked a little bit about last week about how Russell Wilson last year had a bad habit of throwing very crucial interceptions. Well, in the last half of last season, Russell Wilson went 24 touchdowns to 1 interception in the last 8 games. That's obviously amazing. But guess what? When we faced off against the Carolina Panthers in the first playoff game, they were whooping us. They were whooping our butts. And one of the things that happened as soon as we built up a little bit of momentum, Russell Wilson threw an interception to Cortland Flanagan, or whatever the heck that guy's name is. Anyway, point is, Carolina picks it off. So that's what had stuck in my mind about, oh, geez, here's that interception bug coming back to bug us right when we were starting to have some momentum going our way. So let's hope this closes the book on the all too frequent, crucial interceptions that, in my mind at least, Russell Wilson throws. So, maybe this is just a part of his game. It seemed like he didn't do this before, but it could be because they've opened him up to the offense and they started doing that last year. So maybe this is just something that I wasn't really expecting, but is just a part of having an elite quarterback that believes he can make those plays. I hope not. At any rate, so he has one series. Trevon Boykin comes in, and one of the questions was whether or not we were going to solve the backup quarterback situation. And in my mind, that question is answered. Trevon Boykin, a rookie from TCU, Texas Christian University, and he played for a couple other schools, but he had a great college career. And he's very mobile, and he's got an arm. Man, that guy can sling it. And he came out in 2 separate sections, right? He came in, took over for Russell Wilson, and had basically kind of a performance. And then they put in Jake Heaps. And Jake Heaps, the Seahawks receivers kept dropping passes on Jake Heaps, and he would have had a much better stats. So, but Trevon Boykin comes in and goes 10 for 18 for 66 yards, pretty mediocre, and he's throwing off his back foot, and he doesn't really look all that great. In the meantime, I think we get a couple of field goals out of it. Jake Heaps comes in and goes. He just really doesn't perform that well, but he performs better than what the Seahawks. He didn't really get any help from the receivers. So at the end of the game, and Pete Carroll says that they plan to do this the whole time. They bring Trevon Boykin back in towards the end of the game, and we're down, I think, 10 points. Well, at the very end of the game, he throws a couple of nice passes. We're like, okay, this guy's got an arm. Then he does some scrambling. You're like, okay, this guy can scramble. And he's a rookie. So, and now towards the end of the game, we're down by a score, and Trevon Boykin hurls a pass from the 50-yard line, 55 yards through the air, into the end zone with 0 time on the clock, and hits Macevoy. Tanner Macevoy, right, from Wisconsin, a rookie, 6'6". He's played quarterback. He actually came into the Seahawks to play safety. He's been bouncing around. He bounced around in college, and he's bounced around positions. So he tried it out at safety with the Hawks, and then they moved him over to receiver, which is great to have a big-body receiver. And in this case, it paid off. He basically just boxed his guy out and caught the ball in the end zone. So a really exciting finish to a preseason game. And then, of course, the Hawks elect to go for 2. And Alex Collins, our third-string running back, who's got more of a Marshawn Lynch style as far as finishing his runs goes, punches it in, and we win the game. So that was very cool. A couple of things to know about the game. Offensive line played much better. So it looks like we might have seen what our starting offensive line is going to be for the year. Looking at Justin Britt at center, Jermaine Ifedi at right guard. He had a hold, and it was just a hot-headed kind of a hold. He needs to get a handle on that, and I know that they're on him about it. Gary Gilliam at right tackle. At left guard, we've got Mark Glowinski, and left is a guy named Bradley Sau. He's from Arizona. I don't really know anything about him, but it sounds like they were pretty high on him and that he was able to move his feet. Jamarcus Webb has hurt himself, so it's kind of caused us to do a little bit of a shift. But it looks like those guys, they played well. I mean, you could just tell with the eye test that there were holes for Christian Michael, who actually ran really well, except that he doesn't really finish that well. But boy, he can. He's got quickness, and you can see that with Thomas Rawls and Christian Michael, it could really be a heck of a 1-2 punch. So, I've got a lot to talk about, and there's a lot more to say about this game. However, there's a brand new segment here on Talkin Bout Hawkin Out, and it's called Entering the 12th Dimension. It's where I go and talk to 12s on game day and ask them 12 questions. So we don't have much time. Let's get into it. Let us now enter the 12th dimension. Whoa! Welcome to the 12th dimension. Let's go! What's your name?
Hi, I'm Warren.
Warren, are you ready to enter the 12th dimension?
Can't wait.
Hey, what's your name?
Joe Huffman.
Joe, you ready to enter the 12th dimension?
Yes.
Favorite current Seahawk?
Cam Chancellor.
Michael Bennett.
Favorite Seahawk of all time?
Matt Hasselbeck.
I'm on the fence between Largent and Lynch.
You gotta pick one.
I gotta pick one.
You're on an island, you only get one Hawk for life.
Lynch.
Favorite color jersey?
Away whites.
The Navy home.
Favorite Seahawk accessory?
The gloves, when you put them together and they form the Seahawk.
The earrings that my lady wears, because when that's all she wears, it's the best.
First Seahawk memory?
My grandfather used to take me to Seahawks games back in the Kingdom. Him taking me on game days down there to see the Seahawks was just one of the best moments of my life, and it was awesome.
Watching Steve Largent lead the smackdown on that guy after he got hit early on that game. What was that game?
I don't know
the Kansas City. Everybody who knows the Seahawks knows that play. Largent got hit early on that game, and he got all pissed off. And then I don't know, maybe a quarter later, he laid that dude out like he was. I mean, I don't think the guy got up. It was
the guy intercepted the ball. He laid him out and fumbled.
Yeah, it was awesome.
First Seahawk game you went to?
Well, how about this? The first game I can remember going to at CenturyLink Field, which was then named the Seahawks Stadium, was actually with you.
Yeah.
We got to our season ticket holder seats, which we had at the time.
The Hawks Nest.
Yeah, that's right. It was in the Hawks Nest. And I remember actually walking to the seats for my very first time, and it was kind of wet out. It was kind of slippery out. And I had a beer in my hand, and then that beer slipped right out of my hand, full beer, and it just dumped right all over this little kid that was in front of me.
It was at the Kingdom, and I want to say it was against the Broncos. Was it the championship game? Was it an NFC championship? Was it the first one?
I took you to that Miami playoff game.
Yeah, there you go, Miami.
Have you ever met a Seahawk?
I've met Warren Moon.
Warren Moon.
Favorite tailgating drink?
My favorite tailgating drink? Nice frosty vodka soda, my friend.
Whiskey.
Favorite tailgating food?
Cheesy brats.
Whiskey.
Do you have any game day rituals or superstitions?
I don't really believe in rituals or superstitions.
Yep.
Just staying positive. Stay positive the whole time.
Woo! Positivity! You know what's funny? I do. Whiskey.
Best Seahawks in-game memory or moment?
Oh, easy. Year they went to the Super Bowl and won it, I was at the NFC Championship game against San Francisco. You might remember that game. If you don't, Google it, YouTube it, watch it.
You know, a lot of people say that, Richard Sherman's deflection in the end zone in the NFC Championship game a few years ago was maybe the greatest moment ever in Seattle Seahawks history because it sent us to our very first Super Bowl, which we won, of course, against the Denver Broncos and destroyed them. But my actual favorite memory and maybe my favorite experience ever watching a football game was 1 year later. And it was that amazing comeback against Green Bay. And watching Curse catch that touchdown pass in the end zone after dropping and having get picked like 4 times off that guy. Just crazy how he caught that pass in overtime. He ended up coming back and winning it. I was in tears. It was an amazing game.
What are the Hawks going to do this year?
If the offensive line is good to go, the rest of the team is built for success. The defense is money. The offense has got a lot of great weapons to it now. And there's no stopping this team from potentially winning one Super Bowl.
Hawks win the division. Hawks go to the Super Bowl this year. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks! Yeah! Woo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop. All right, thanks, fellas. That was awesome. And that was a really good barbecue. Joe made brisket sandwiches. Oh, that was good. Okay, so here we are, back in the studio. Let's look ahead a little bit. We're taking on the Vikings next week. Actually, it's tomorrow. This is Wednesday. So it's a really short turnaround for the Hawks and yours truly. So I'll probably have this up Thursday morning for the game. And so we're playing Thursday night here in Seattle at CenturyLink Field. We're taking on the Vikings, who obviously we played last year. We ended the Vikings season on a missed field goal by Minnesota in frigid conditions. So, hi Bethany, by the way. She just came in. Hello. I love you dearly. Vikings are coming to town, and with Mike Zimmer at head coach, Adrian Peterson still the workhorse at running back, and Teddy Bridgewater, their young quarterback, who people call Teddy Two Gloves for some strange reason. And next week, the Vikings go home, actually, and open up their season for the first time and inaugurate their U.S. Bank Stadium. And they were playing at the Metrodome, but it was literally falling apart on them. So, the pretty stout defense. It's going to be an offense that challenges our D somewhat. The overall vibe of the Hawks right now is super high energy at practice. It's interesting because I heard that during training camp that actually the players are sequestered in a hotel, right? So during training camp, it's just like being on the road. The players aren't going home. They're staying right there in a hotel and just going back and forth to training camp. At any rate, so I made the analogy last week about how after the 2012 season, the Hawks lost in a comeback against Atlanta in the playoffs. In the 2013 season, we turned around and won the Super Bowl. Well, there were some analogies to our loss last year at Carolina, and that this year, and in fact the players and coaches and the media pundits are saying that there are a lot of similarities in the energies and the intensities at practice. So let's hope it shapes up that way. Don't forget, I have picked the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl this year. And Bethany, what are the Hawks going to do this year? What's your prediction? She says they're going to win the Super Bowl. She didn't say that, but we'll find out maybe next week what Bethany thinks the Seahawks are going to do. Okay, so that's it for this week's Talkin Bout Hawkin Out. Remember to subscribe to the channel. We since last week we've gained 2 subscribers, so now we have 2 subscribers, and we have 38 channel views so far total, and we're well on our way to my personal goal of 10,000 subscribers and 1 million channel views. So share this video, subscribe, tell your friends about it, and make sure you leave a comment below, and I'm going to put the sign up. Say it with me. I'm in. We'll see you next week on Talkin Bout Hawkin Out.